It all comes down to this, the season finale, live here from Sebring International Raceway. This is where it all comes down. Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing, Johnny Cullen versus Christian Zeruta. Who is going to come out on top? In a little over an hour and a half, we will know, and we'll have all the coverage here live on RaceSpotTV. It's Peter Mackay here alongside Chaz Draycott as always here. And Chaz, we've never had a title race as close as this for the overall championship. I can't wait.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer of a final race evening for the season. The tide really did change at Le Mans. We expected Zeruta to be definitely the one to take the title there, or at least have one hand on the trophy. But Johnny Cullen did everything he needed to do and was just 3 points back in the championship by the end of the night, and that's how they stand coming here. This is going to be so close. We're going to get the calculators ready, and it's going to be a great night of racing.
Well, it's relatively simple in terms of Christian Zeruta and Johnny Cullen, just 3 points separating after Johnny Cullen got the win last time out at Le Mans. Really, if either Zeruta or Cullen win the race, they win the championship. If neither of them win the race, then it starts getting a little bit more complex. But that's how they stand right now. Austin Grace Rex in a relatively safe third as things stand. Johnny Ilya is fourth. Mark Baxter Jones rounds out the top five. Hasn't made it to every round, but he is quick. James Cummings sits tied sixth alongside Rob Sharp. Then it's Mark Johnson, Stuart Clark, and Byron Crawford. In the AM standings, well, it's a little bit more clear-cut. Ryan Penny sits with one hand on the trophy of an AM championship here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain. Alistair Hatcher sits tied second with Gilles Gardner. That is going to be a fascinating battle to see. Kim Such sits in fourth with Amrik Sachdev rounding out the top five. Then we have series newcomer Alex Owen in sixth, Drew Fletcher in seventh, Andrew Soper in eighth, Christopher Hart in ninth, and Josh Bailey rounds out the top 10. So the drivers are out in practice at the moment, but qualifying is coming up very, very soon, where the drivers will go out for a group qualifying session, interestingly. And we'll see who comes out on top. Here at Sebring, Chaz, that overall grid position is going to be mighty, mighty important.
Yeah, it especially is in the opening laps as well. You know, while this may be an endurance race and people will exercise caution in the opening laps instead of going for it full guns blazing like they do in the sprint races, the drivers are going to need to make sure they don't really scuff up the start, to be honest with you, because while this is a place with plenty of overtaking opportunities, they're not easy overtaking opportunities. I think one of the key things about this circuit is that if you are going to overtake somebody and you are going to go for a move, it's what we call a move with compromise, isn't it? You will slow yourself down and the driver that you're overtaking as well. So it's not going to be easy to gain places and then stay within a group if you're chasing somebody ahead. There's James Cummings, currently in third place at the moment. He's had a really good season so far, hasn't he, Peter? He's been really impressive since, I'd say, about season 4. He really came alive, didn't he, in some of these faster cars, and has properly risen to the top naturally.
He has. It's been really impressive from James Cummings. Some races haven't quite gone his way, but yeah, we'll look for him to have a strong finish to the season here at Sebring. Such a technical driving challenge here. This airfield, former World War II airfield, they've been racing here since the early 1950s. The first 12-hour race was all the way back in 1952, and it's been really a gold standard event in global endurance racing ever since. Porsche have quite the heritage here with 18 overall wins, more than any other manufacturer. So who's going to come out on top today? It's so close. And the thing is, Chaz, Johnny Cullen and Christian Zeruta, they've been inseparable all season. They've been in their own kind of premier division. But last time out, just a week ago at Le Mans, it was Cullen who looked imperious.
Yeah, absolutely. Zaruta's qualifying just really never came to him. It just did not get up to speed, and he struggled then from, well, I wouldn't say struggled too much in the race, but he was always on the back foot. He was trying to make the strategy work, and it just didn't ever properly come together for him. He wasn't able to find enough time to catch up with the guys right at the front, but he still got a solid result out of the night and still got some decent points. It was what we called a damage limitation evening on the night, and Tsuruta did a really good job of it, to be honest with you. But yeah, the qualifying was so key there, as it is going to be tonight as well, because this isn't one of those evenings where you can play to the game, is it, and sort of bank on a decent reverse grid position to put you ahead of your rivals.
No, and that's what makes it so exciting and a great way to finish the season. Fantastic work on the schedule from the organisers of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing. This is the conclusion of a 7th season of virtual motorsport in the Porsche Club here in the UK, and kicked off all the way back in sort of springtime 2020, when all of us were confined to barracks, shall we say, and how it's evolved since then. And this season we've sampled many different racing Porsches here on the iRacing platform, from the 991 Cup car through the 992 Cup car, the RSR, and now the 992 GT3R as well. Qualifying underway, 15 minutes on the clock for our drivers, and I'm sure they want to be getting on with it now and get those laps in and start nipping down those lap times. But a different tyre model just a couple of weeks ago, which I think a lot of iRacers are still trying to get their head around.
Yeah, like we said at Le Mans at the time, it's such a different thing to get used to. You know, sometimes they can make slight aero tweaks to a car, or just give it a 1% less power, you know, just add their own balance of performance in between seasons. But when something as fundamental as the tyres change underneath you, especially when it affects more than just one car, drivers have to do so much more mental sort of retuning in their head. And especially in a car like these GT3 machines that we have before us, they are really dependent on the tyre working for them and the tyre coming to life as well. And it's a category that has such a fantastic balance of performance in the real world that, you know, you really have to be on it and figure out where the strengths and weaknesses of your car are. And if you don't have the confidence to push that because of the tyres underneath you, it really is a type of car that will punish you as well. Obviously, they do have traction control and ABS available, and that can sometimes kick in more than you want it to, so a lot of drivers run it very low. But again, dependent on how you run it is how you'll affect the tyres that you're running on. So it's certainly something that they'll have in the back of their minds every time they go through a corner tonight, because, like you say, Peter, it's still fresh in the memory, isn't it? It's not like they'll have had enough time to get used to it by now, I reckon.
Yeah, it's like changing a brand of tyre, if you like. If you put, even on your road car, a normal road speed, if you change from one brand to another, you will feel a big difference in how it is. So the drivers have been working hard on that, and usually we have a 2-week gap between races here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain. This has been slightly different because of the proximity to the festive period. There's only been a 1-week gap between Le Mans and Sebring, but I think that's made it a really kind of interesting, really exciting finish to the season. We ride with Paul Goffin, who comes down to the hairpin now at turn 7. This was a corner where in the very old days of this race, Sterling Moss came round the corner, and he was handed a bottle of Coca-Cola from a photographer. He drank the bottle of Coca-Cola on the next lap and then threw the empty bottle to the photographer as he went by the next time.
That is
cool as a cucumber.
Phenomenal, isn't it? Only Sterling. That's just absolutely amazing. But that's the thing, you know, this circuit's got so much history and so much heritage behind it as well. And as Peter rightly mentioned before, it used to be an Air Force base as well for the US Air Force a long time ago. This straight that they're on right now actually is known as Flying Fortress Straight, the Flying Fortress, the B-17 that the American Air Force used to use. And this is the sort of aircraft that would have been based there as well. A lot of large bombers were based there during World War II. And that's why it's so flat and in some places so bumpy as well, especially here towards the end of the lap and down the start-finish straight, because it's all like blocks of concrete, isn't it? Rather than just be smooth, beautiful pavement, it's just these massive blocks. It's like being on the M6 over Birmingham.
It's way worse than that. It's properly jarring in places, particularly here at Sunset Bend, which is often called the corner of 1,000 lines because it's so difficult to get the racing line correct, and you can see the cars bounding all over the place, and that's where the damping of the race car is really important. A couple of years ago, back in 2020, the Wright Motorsport team won in the GTD class, but they had a damper fail after 4 hours. and they basically drove. They thought they had a puncture initially. They had a broken damper, and they drove the next 8 hours with a broken damper, which is and won the race, which is mind-blowing, really. One of Patrick Long's best drives, I think, in that number 16 Wright Motorsport Porsche. Now, our champion-elect in AM, car number 99, Ryan Penny, has got a little bit of a special tribute on the roof of his car. Now, Ryan has just he's just sold his beloved green Boxster Spider. So I see what his game is here, Chaz. I think he's in the market for a similar GT product. Now, where better to go than our series sponsor, Porsche Centre Chester? But as many Porsche fans know, in order to get a hold of a GT product, you need to be you need to have the connections. Well, what better way to get a GT3 RS or 911 ST allocation than putting a massive picture of said dealer principal on the roof of your car? Genius.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic marketing as well from Ryan Penny. The wonderful Carl Hazelton is there. There he is. The
Look at
legend
that tie,
himself
so swish.
on the roof. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Carl's a fantastic bloke. We've taken the mick many a time with Peter and I, but we do love Carl to bits. And of course, thank Porsche Centre Chester for sponsoring this brilliant championship. But yeah, Ryan carrying him as a lucky charm on the roof for the season, and it's certainly doing him well so far. I tell you what, I'm not sure how much he's had to pay Carl for the pleasure, but I tell you what, it's been a great run for him, hasn't it?
I'm reliably informed that Carl has no idea about this particular gesture. I want to know if it helps or hinders his chances.
Yeah, actually, we need to get Carl in for an interview, I think, at some point.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, if Ryan gets a 911 ST allocation, does that mean he's duty bound to take it and he's out of £230,000?
Oh, good lord! I daren't ask him that. I daren't ask him.
Although I was reading a review in Car Magazine this week of that 911 ST, and it sounds like it's the last word in a road car. Sounds like it's pretty much the best road car you could ever buy.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. It's yes, you could buy a 1,000 horsepower hypercar, but for the driving on fast on the road, it's just the last word.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's not ridiculous amounts of power doing 8 million miles an hour. It's right in the middle of the market in a lot of different ways, but it's just that's what you're able to use on the road. You know, it's the perfect amount. It's not over the top. It's not too little. It's just right in that perfect spot, isn't it? It's like Goldilocks' porridge. Just that proper, decent formula of a car. I mean, it looks absolutely gorgeous anyway, to be honest with you. It's almost like it's like the GT3 Touring, isn't it? You get the GT3. It's basically
a GT3 RS Touring, more or less. It's a GT3 RS engine and a Touring body, more or less.
Terrifying idea.
Yes, it's a pretty cool idea. Apparently, the engine just climbs and loses revs like at the blink of an eye. We can only imagine, unless Carl gets a demonstrator in and he wants us to have a go in it, then
gladly.
Maybe that's how we could experience it. Anyhow, Johnny Elia in coming down the back straight, the Alec Ullman straight. Alec Ullman, one of the founding fathers of the Sebring International Raceway, about to go under the bridge, or he's about to spin under the bridge. Under the very aptly named, that bridge was originally donated by Martini. And Johnny Elia was a bit more shaken than stirred there under that bridge.
I like that. See, we never lose it up here in the commentary box. Peter and I have had these puns.
We might be getting older, but...
We've had these puns from day one, and they remain here 7 seasons later as well. I can't believe it. This man is actually fastest in the...
We're going to have more than friends at this rate.
We've got Alistair Hatcher fastest in the AM class, currently ahead of Gilles Gardner and Ryan Penny. Alistair goes for a celebratory spin. Oh, goodness me. Contact with the car behind. Now, that's quite important, really, because you only get a limit of how many laps you can do in these sessions as well. So if a driver has an incident in front of you in these group sessions and you get caught up in it, then that takes away your lap at well, it's not really your fault, basically. It's very, very intriguing. Ryan Penny's just gone fastest at the top of the AM class and right at the top of the times. Look at that. By 0.4 of a second, and then 0.009 of a second is Christian Tsuruta and Johnny Cullen. Well, these boys, Peter, they're setting us up for a very tantalising finale race here. Less than 0.010 of a second between our championship protagonists on a lap that's nearly 2 minutes. Goodness me.
Remarkable, absolutely remarkable, and they're 0.7 clear of anyone else. That is like you could not symbolise the story of this season better than this qualifying session right now. Johnny Cullen's got, a 1:58.8. That's really clipping on here. Really, really quick. Let's see what Johnny Cullen can do at the moment. But he's looking pretty good. But I think Tsuruta could be going quicker here on his lap. Coming down towards Cunningham Corner, and then you sweep through Collier Curve, and then up towards Tower Turn. A really tricky right-hander here where you're braking and you're kind of thinking, I've got to turn in at some point. There's a little dip there, it is. And then try not to get pogoed off the road on the exit, and down towards Olivier Jean de Bienne Bend. And Olivier, what a driver he was here at this particular circuit. And then through the S's and towards Le Mans. This key right-hander here taking the exit onto the... that lap's gone. Yep, that's lap's gone.
Yeah. I wondered if they had a limit on how many laps they could do, but I don't think they do in these group sessions, do they?
No. It's almost like your best lap is on the first lap with the tyre, and he's basically gone to... He wants to then go and have another go. Interesting tactic there from Johnny Cullen as Mark Johnson swoops his way through Sunset Bend underneath the old Martini Bridge, and then up towards the start-finish line. He's in 10th in class at the moment, 10th overall. Mark Johnson in the Brumos liveried machine. And Brumos, when they actually won here overall in 1973 with a 911 RS against all the prototypes, and it was actually a borrowed car. Hurley Haywood and the owner of Brumos, Peter Gregg, had won at Daytona again in a Carrera RS with RSR running gear, but they'd been loaned that car by Porsche. Porsche took it away, and they wanted to race at Sebring, but they had no car. But luckily, a Brumos customer, Dr. David Helmick, had one on order, a yellow one. And they said, could we borrow your car? You can drive with us. Can we borrow the car? And you can keep the trophy if we win. And that's exactly what they did. And it's the last time a Brumos car won in anything other than the white, blue and red stripe.
That is absolutely remarkable, isn't it? And that's the thing, there's so many amazing stories of cars that cars and teams that maybe shouldn't have been there, or they might not have been there, or got there last minute and then ended up with a result. And the people involved behind it, the machinery as well. There's more than just a results sheet, and that's why it's always good to have the stories, because it tells so much more than just looking at it on the results, doesn't it? And this is the sort of place where so many of those stories have been told and will still be written going into the future as well, because Sebring is such a magical place. I mean, we were looking forward to it as soon as the season started. Obviously, don't forget, everybody, that this is round one, effectively, that has been rescheduled to the end of the season now due to the update to iRacing that happened just the day before, and then there was a big patch on the night that stopped us from going racing. We look here at Johnny Elia. Into Sunset again he goes, bouncing away. It looks like we're going to be racing into the dark here as well, Peter, which is quite nice to have, because Sebring is pretty well lit around this part of the circuit. The cat's eyes glow around the whole track as well. Certainly going to add a bit more atmosphere to the sun setting on our championship.
Oh yeah, and that's so typical Sebring as well. You start sort of 10, 11 o'clock in the morning and then race through to 10, 11 o'clock at night. It is such a special place to go. And, well, Stephen Kershaw on track right now in 12th in the Pro Class. Huge thank you to Stephen, who's put in a huge amount of work behind the scenes on the organising committee. You look at all the partners involved with the championship, organising all the drivers, everything, rules, anything like that. dealing with new drivers, etc. Stephen's been involved in all of that. He's decided his stint at the on the committee has come to a close, and we from us all here at the Porsche Club, and indeed here at RaceSpot 2, thank you very much, Stephen, for your service to the championship.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been a stalwart of it, and has done a great job of running things. They're not easy to run, these sim racing championships.
Oh no.
Especially with the...
I don't know why I'm saying oh no, I have no idea. It doesn't sound fun, though.
Well, with the depths that they can go into, you know, I run leagues, but I run them in a much simpler and lazy fashion, to be honest with you. But these guys go into real depth, and they certainly polish all of the finer edges and the details of it, and they do a wonderful job here, and it certainly looks the part, and everything runs very, very smoothly, and Stephen is key to that happening, and he is handing over the reins, so we look forward to seeing what we get in future. It looks like the cars are going through the wall in the background there, just as the wall goes away from the edge of the road. Kershaw actually improves his position and then goes flying off at turn one. Oh, goodness me, that
flag was out anyway. Yeah, it's fine, just pull another one out the truck, no problem. Oh, Ilya gets balked a little bit there by Owen. That's contact with Kim Such. Oh, what a pity there for Johnny Ilya. I don't know if he was on a lap. No, it doesn't look like it, but let's see what Andrew Soper can do. Yeah, coming out that last corner, there used to be a bit of kind of artificial grass there, and it was very slippy, and now it's now kind of paved, so you can really run it out right to the cushion, as they say in oval speak.
This is Andrew Soper then, currently in 19th position, just trying to improve on his time wherever he can. It is a circuit that's it's easy to find a lot of time in just one corner, but when you then piece the entire lap together, it's really, really difficult. He heads over the line now, and looks like he will improve there. He does. It's 204.127. Here is our current fastest driver in AM and championship leader in AM, looking to take the title, Ryan Penny. He is currently 16 points clear of Alistair Hatcher, who is tied with Gilles Gardner for second place. And did we note that Cullen has gone faster than Saruta?
We did not. A 158.736.
Oh, Lord.
Good grief. So he goes faster by just the 64 thousandths of a second. We've got a race on our hands, and we'll come into why that's why we've got a fascinating race. It shouldn't matter though. Ryan Penny already on pole position in the AM class. He's been the benchmark driver really in AM all season, manages to get it back going, does exactly the right thing by waiting and looking at his relative to let the cars go through before turning round. Checkered flag then out here in qualifying, and let's take a look at the grid of how they line up for this final race of the season for season 7 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. Johnny Cullen on pole position with a blistering pole lap, 1 minute 58.736. That is shifting on, but Christian Saruta right along beside him on the front row of the grid. He's your defending champion, and he wants to hang on to that number 1 plate. Then on row 2, it's James Cummings and Johnny Ilya. Good qualifying performances from both. Then Mark Baxter-Jones and Rob Sharp are your third row. Rolling off from the fourth row, we have Byron Crawford and Mark Johnson in the Brumos machine. Then it's Paul Goffin for Sim Racing Magazine and the Rusty Rose car of Stuart Clark. Then it's row 6, Stephen Kershaw and Ryan Penny, your pole sitter in the AM class. Then it's row 7, Oliver Carradine and Alistair Hatcher. Gilles Gardner just behind his rival in the championship, Hatcher. Then it's Kim Such on the outside of row 8. Then row 9, Danny Jones and Alex Owen. And finally, our last car qualifying, Andrew Soper, making up our 19-car grid here at Sebring. So we have a very brief warm-up session before going into the race, and just a quick opportunity for the drivers either to go out and get a quick look at the track conditions, or indeed to nip off for a comfort break. Of course, this is an endurance race, non-stop, 1 hour dash to the flag, and conditions, well, they couldn't really be any better, Chaz.
No, they look absolutely fantastic. It's not too hot out there, so the circuit is not going to be sweltering. It is 18 degrees at the moment, and with the sun going down, it's only going to get cooler as well. We're using the iRacing default date, which is the 15th of May. That basically requires, it gives you a massive amount of sunlight during the day as well, so you don't go racing in the dark by accident. And to be fair, there's not much cloud cover as well at the moment, so they will still get a bit of temperature, so they can certainly heat up the tyres, but it's not too much. It's right in that perfect window, I think. Not quite sure what the grip level is going to be like, though, because sometimes you want the circuit to be a little bit warmer just to get the grip, because if it's too cold, it's like driving on sheet ice sometimes, and like I say, it won't respond to the tyres or give you anything in the tyres. So I think the drivers will feel most comfortable in these conditions and push in the opening laps, but as part of these endurance races, one thing they have to think about, though, is tyre life, isn't it? And it is quite an old-school abrasive surface here at Sebring. I'm not sure how well that translates over in the sim, but I imagine that iRacing do a good job of that, as they do with most other things.
Yeah, it's very much a high wear, low grip, high wear circuit here at Sebring. So yes, the tyres are going to be an issue. We saw a kind of little bit of a mixed bag of strategies at Le Mans of who put tyres on at the pit stops and who did not, and well, we'll see. It'll be very interesting because you can now put tyres on with fuel going in. The question is, do you have enough time to then take all 4 tyres on the car? I think you actually have to. The fuel is done and you're still putting the tyres on if you're going for all 4, so you do have to give a bit of time away, and given how close that Cullen and Tsuruta have been, they're going to have to make a little bit of a call on that before they come into the pits, and will they make the same call? That's the really interesting part.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is going to be a race where they react to one another or spot what the other driver is doing and then, copy him or just go a lap later. I think they're going to have an idea in their heads of when they're going to pit. Last time at Le Mans, we saw Christian Tsuruta go in a lot earlier, actually, didn't we? It was a good lap or 2 earlier than everybody else, and then he tried to make that work to his advantage. It gave him a bit of track position at certain points. Sorry, no, he didn't go in earlier. He had a shorter first stop. That's what he did. He had less fuel in that first stop and then came out of the pits in front of some of the guys that he was battling with just to try and get in their head. But I think here, it might not be as important to have track position because obviously at Le Mans, at Circuit de la Sarthe, you want to be right behind the car in front of you and use that tasty slipstream to save some fuel. You can still do a bit of fuel saving here. That's another topic of the night as well, that some drivers might try a one-stopper if they can save enough fuel, but it's whether they can get the pace out of the car while they're still circulating, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a few big fuel saving opportunities here, and so we've got 1 hour race and a 50% fuel limit. So approximately these cars can run to about an hour on a full fuel tank. So therefore 50% they can run to about half an hour. What that means is we could see some drivers having to fuel save massively to try and do just 1 pit stop, because I do think if you have to take a splash at the end, you're gonna give away too much time. So I think the drivers will have to fuel save. If they go straight out the traps and go flat out, they might not hit that 1 pit stop strategy. So we'll keep a close eye on the onboards with that and a close ear in the onboards to hear the drivers lifting and coasting, where they'll lift off the throttle that little bit earlier for the corner and then get hard on the brakes, maybe even actually brake slightly later than their usual braking point, and that overall lift off the throttle gives that little bit of saved fuel. And as you rightly say, Chaz, if you've got a car in front, you can really maintain your speed and use less fuel. Do you find yourself on the motorway like drafting people, thinking, I'm going to get a bit of a draft here, I'm going to save some fuel?
Well, I drive a BMW, so naturally, I have to be.
You're glued to the car in front. So do I, actually. I've found it hasn't turned me into a complete lunatic. So amazing, it is possible.
Well, you have to just have your headlights on as well. That's one of the main things. You've got
and
a full beams
on for no reason.
Bluetooth headset in, and you've got a crack on. No one on the phone. You've got to just have your headset in and just be 2 feet away from the car in front.
Well, the cars line up ready for this final race of the season.
I think
here at Sebring International.
Just there, we've had a slight connection issue.
So, apologies. Did I have a little connection drop there? think I may well have. Apologies, folks. So the cars make their way to the grid then here at Sebring International Raceway. You see the logo of Panos there, Dr. Don Panos, who gave such an amount to the sport with the birth of the American Le Mans series and the Petit Le Mans. And what a place this is. Starters orders being given now. Johnny Cullen on pole position. Can he win? Can he take that number 1 plate from your defending champion, Christian Tsuruta? It's time to find out here at Sebring. Down to turn 1 they go. And Christian Tsuruta doesn't quite get the getaway he wanted. It's Cullen who leads then into turn 1 with Tsuruta right in behind. And there's Johnny Elia running it a little bit wide there onto the curb. And here comes Cummings in the orange machine up the inside, going into Christensen Bend and gets the job done there as well. Good move there from Cummings, but our leading two already starting to show some real pace as they come out of turn 4 then and along through Gurney Bend. Down to the hairpin they go then, so it's Cullen from Tsuruta, then it's James Cummings, Johnny Elia right there in 4th, and Mark Baxter-Jones rounding out the top 5 right now. Ryan Penny's got a good getaway in the AM class there. He has just come through the shot. The driver's got to be super careful here because they don't have a warm-up lap. The tyres are absolutely stone cold when they start the race, as are the brakes, so they've really got to bear that in mind on this opening lap, especially having just come off a qualifying run where everything's all up to temperature. So Cullen got the perfect getaway then as well. These aren't easy cars to get off the line. They're not necessarily designed for a standing start, but that's something that Johnny Cullen and Christian Tsuruta both really got the knack of so far in this season as they head now down through Olivier Jean de Bien Bend and then into the S's. Very, very tricky. The new model here of Sebring, the curb on that second S really does stick out, so you've got to be careful of that. Onto the Oman Straight they go then, with Cullen leading and Tsuruta right in there behind him. Now, question is Cullen going to try and break Tsuruta here, or is Tsuruta just sitting there quite happy to sit and fuel save behind Johnny Cullen? Lap 1 complete.
Fantastic first lap indeed. Apologies for my connection issue there, everybody, but sometimes it's just one of those things. But Cullen doing what he needs to do on this first lap and just keeping Tsuruta behind. And basically, as they stand here, it's whoever's going to win this race is going to win the championship. Right now, we look at Stuart Clark in the middle of the field, car number 23 in 9th position, with Mark Johnson just behind him in the Brumos colours. Then Paul Goffin and then Ryan Penny leading in the AM class. Ryan trying to complete the title this evening. He's got Oliver Cowardine between himself and Kim Such as well. Then Alistair Hatcher and Gilles Gardner are not able to be right with Ryan Penny at this point. There's a couple of seconds between them all as well.
Big thing is between Gilles Gardner and
6th place, but it's
Alistair Hatcher
all the
for
way through
that
the pack
second
at the
place in
moment.
the AM Championship looks fairly sewn up with Ryan Penny got one hand on the championship. Whereas at the front of the field, really, it's a winner takes all. If Johnny Cullen wins the race, he is champion. If Tsuruta wins the race, likewise, he will be champion. Already they're starting to put a bit of distance between themselves and James Cummings in 3rd, who in turn has actually dropped Johnny Elia already at the front of the field. So James Cummings looked very racy right now in that orange number 2 Calippo machine. And actually getting really starting to hustle here in the middle part of this lap and actually holding himself with the leading pair. Actually, this is a really impressive first couple of laps here from James Cummings.
Yeah, he's been really good indeed, hasn't he? Cummings up into 3rd place now, and again, this is just what we get from him sometimes. He just has these really solid performances. He can very often be right under the radar as well. That's the thing. Despite being in a bright orange car, Cummings is really good at running cleanly near the front of the pack and just gaining points. You know, like you said earlier on, Peter, he's had a few races that haven't gone his way, but he's just been so consistent in terms of his pace and his ability. And that's one thing we can never take away. But look at these two now, starting to give us that image, that indicator that we talk about how the two of them are really in a different league in this championship right now. It's been another joyous season to watch them battling It's just remarkable, absolutely remarkable that they have so much pace all the time at every circuit. But we've seen a flip this way and that way, haven't we? And who's fastest and who's the one chasing?
It has been back and forth, you're right, all season long. At Le Mans, it was very much the way of Cullen, and then there was kind of a stretch of a couple of races in a row where Tsuruta was the master, and it's come down to qualifying, particularly in these last two races of the season, where it looked like Tsuruta was the qualifying master, and then Le Mans qualifying, Cullen puts it on pole, Tsuruta back in 6th or 7th. And then today we've seen Cullen just edge out Tsuruta for pole by 0.06 of a second. So tight. Remember, that's over a 1 minute 58 second lap too. So really fine margins. But this isn't necessarily a race all about pace. This is a race about management. It's a race about who can run the pace whilst using less fuel, because if you're too thirsty on the fuel, you may well have to take a quick splash at the end of the race, and if you do that, your race is done. So I think that's what Tsuruta's playing right now. He's keeping an eye on the fuel numbers. Big problem there for Mark Johnson in the Brumos car as he bounds his way over the grass. So what happened there to car number 11, Mark Johnson? That was at the S's just before the Le Mans curve. And that is a really tricky part of the circuit. There's like I say, the new curbing there is a little bit more pronounced, and it comes up a little bit quicker. So yeah, very easy to come a cropper there.
Yeah, you can hook a wheel on the inside if you're just going a little bit too hard, and then the outside wheels can just bounce over the surface that little bit, and all that does is just unsettle the car, especially under braking as well. That's the worst bit. The car's already trying to over-rotate anyway with the mid-engine nature of this car, the way that it does gradually do that. A little bit of a kiss of the gravel there for Tsuruta, but it seemed like Johnson's front end on that car had been bashed in anyway, so it looks like he's just had a slow rotation, and then the front has basically just gone straight into the back. Oh no, never mind that. Wow. But he did hook up that left side on the curb instead of the right side, didn't he? And then it just obviously took away all grip from that outside, and then it just dragged itself to the right, and he recovered very quickly there actually, because it bounced off the wall quite nicely. But I imagine that won't feel so fantastic now at the rest. Well, for the rest of the race.
That's Jose Maria Lopez's wall, where he ended up. He rolled his Toyota hypercar there.
Oh, he did.
Yes. Not a violent roll. It was a fairly light roll, but a roll nonetheless. You don't see prototypes rolling very often. It's quite a bizarre sight. Kind of like a turtle on its back. Rob Sharp there in the blue, yellow, silver and red machine, sitting in 7th overall right now, right in behind Myron Crawford in the Blinds to Go 1110's racing car as they come along the Ulman Straight. The front of the field, Johnny Cullen leading the race as he has done since the beginning, with Christian Tsuruta sort of keeping a watching brief around 3/4 of a second behind him. Christian Tsuruta's got to be a little bit careful there if he can. He doesn't really want to see Cullen get any further away than that, because then he loses the benefit of any kind of slipstream and loses any benefit of the fuel saving from Cullen's machine. So this is the fascinating part. We don't know at all how hard either of them are pushing at this stage. I'm sure they've very much done their practice, done their preparation of what fuel number they need to hit, but that's a really tricky balance.
It absolutely is, and you could see there as well as they came into the second corner down to turn 2, just how close they are to the grass as well. They're using every millimetre of the road. Look, even here as well, into the hairpin, right up to the white line, almost touching the grass. All it takes is a couple of pixels, a couple of millimetres of a misjudgment there. You touch the brakes on that grass and the car is going to rotate faster than, well, I don't even know what, nothing broadcastable anyway. It is going to spin so quickly, and these guys are both really dancing on that limit and dancing on the edge, and again throwing a sort of a line to how great iRacing is to watch and broadcast. You really get to see the body language of the car. They move around so well on our screens in this simulator, and you get to feel that as well. You can see that the guys are pushing and being quick, but like you say, Peter, this could be just 80% for them right now. You know, they could not be throwing everything at it at this moment and just holding back for when they really need to push later on because of the fuel situation. Here's Mark Baxter-Jones, currently in 5th place. Mark's very, very good at these endurance races. He's very quick anyway. He's a really consistent driver. He's won many a special event that I've put on, especially in Porsches as well. And he's currently in 5th position, just behind his teammate Johnny Elia. There's some battles and moves going on a bit further back. Stuart Clark has just got past Stephen Kershaw right now. And Rob Sharp and Byron Crawford continued their fight. This is Paul Goffin, who's got a front row seat to the battle in front of him, actually. And then he's got AM class leader Ryan Penny just behind him as well. Ryan's having a nice, tidy race at this moment as well. He's got a couple of seconds to his AM class rivals. It's all nice and clean at the moment, Peter. Touch wood when I say that, but you know, we've got this fascinating battle at the very front, which literally is whoever comes out on top wins the championship, which we mustn't forget. And then we've got so many battles in the midfield as well, but they're all really behaving themselves. You usually get a bit of a last day of school vibe, don't you? But they're doing a really good job at the minute.
I think with it being an endurance race, I think that's played a factor in that, where you do have to settle in, there are no second chances. We have in the regular format with the sprint and feature races, we do see a lot of, maybe a little bit more erratic, a little bit more aggressive driving, and knowing that you've maybe got that second bite of the cherry, whereas in this format you don't. Yes, you have a spare car, you have what's known as a fast repair in iRacing waiting in the pit should you need it, but you don't have the time to recover from that incident. So I think that's where that's coming from, and I do believe that the fuel saving aspect is playing into it as well. I mean, when you're fuel saving, it's amazing actually when you go on a fuel save how you can sometimes, for certain drivers, I've certainly found this in endurance races where I can actually drive as quick and more consistently while fuel saving than I do if I'm trying to hot lap, because you're just being that little bit smoother, a little bit more delicate with the inputs. And for some reason, for me anyway, I find you can actually run a similar pace or even sometimes a better pace. And you can just hear Paul Goffin there, nice long breathe off the throttle, even at that quite short braking zone.
Yeah, absolutely. There are people that it's a bit obvious where they're fuel saving, and you know they'll be doing it here and there. It may not seem like much to do it just once or twice in a moment like that, but it will add up over the course of the race, and that's what it's all about. It's a big picture game here. We've got Mark Johnson ahead of Danny Jones. Danny's not really been anywhere this evening, unfortunately. He's up into 17th place, but he's not having the best time of it. That was Paul Goffin a little bit earlier on the apex. That's what you mentioned earlier about 1,000 lines around there, Peter. Goffin went on a bit of an early apex, ran it wide on the exit, and then Ryan Penny behind him has tried to make the most of it and gain a place. Ryan doesn't need to risk anything at this moment in time. Ryan can just sit there, to be honest, and watch these guys in front and still win the championship. He could finish second or even third in the AM class tonight and still win the championship. But he just needs to make sure he doesn't take any risks along the way. And it's hard as a sim racer when, you know, you're on top of your game, you're winning your class, not just in the championship but in the race. It's hard to not see an opportunity and think, oh, I'm going to have him, I'm going to overtake him. But Ryan will definitely need to exercise a lot of caution and patience during this race tonight. Huge amounts,
yeah. I'm sure it'll be a nervy hour or so for Ryan Penny, but he's acquitting himself very well right now, lapping away comfortably at the wheel of that number 99 machine. So just coming up for 15 minutes down out of 60, and we expect the cars to come in around the 30-minute mark. Now this is going to be very telling where they come in. If they are before that 30-minute mark, then you're in a bit of trouble. If you're after it, then you're good. You've done your pit stop for the race. Of course, at Le Mans it was a bit different because we had 2 pit stops, because Le Mans is so much of the lap under full throttle, and therefore it's heavier on fuel use. Sebring's a bit different. Sebring, you've got corners where you can roll the throttle off that little bit more. You can do it. There's big braking zones where you can do fuel saving too. So. Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating. I'm really interested to see if they can make it or not.
Yeah, I think there might be some drivers that do, but I don't think it'll be anybody that's going to be setting blistering times. I think there's going to be quite a big balance, or a big correlation, let's say, between the drivers that aren't quite at the sharp end and making the one-stop work, and then the drivers that are a little bit further down that could potentially make it work. But at the end of the day, You never know where people are going to end up without having to do that stop. So we've certainly got a lot to keep our eyes on here at Sebring in the final round of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. We look here at Kim Such, who has just lost second place, actually, in the AM class during this race to Alistair Hatcher. He's just got ahead. And just behind them as well is Gilles Gardner. Gilles, a very improved racer in this championship as well. Fantastic sim racing photographer as well. He's done many pictures for me in my different championships, for which I'm very, very grateful. Gilles' a lovely, lovely guy as well. A very good photographer in the real world as well, I must say. But
brilliant livery designer too.
Yes, absolutely, yes. He does a lot of the liveries for these guys. I think he does Mark Johnson's liveries as well, actually, for a bunch of series that he competes in. And yeah, he's just an all-round talented bloke and a lovely guy, is Gilles Gardner. As at the front of the field, Cullen as well. He's opened up a big gap now. I mean, we say a big gap when it's only 1.4 seconds, 1.3 seconds, but in this championship between these two, that is a big gap, isn't it, for those that might not have seen it already?
Yeah, and the fastest lap of the race is actually in the favour of Tsuruta right now by 15 thousandths of a second. Yeah, so it's very, very tight there between them. But in terms of race pace, it's Cullen who's really hustling right now in that 666 machine. So Tsuruta not close enough to be picking up any slipstream whatsoever from his rival, and I think mentally seeing Cullen drive up the road and into the Floridian sunset is got to be pretty unnerving, especially for Tsuruta, who's kind of had the upper hand in the championship in the points marginally, but he's had the lead of the championship for most of the season, albeit with a small gap. To see it slip from his fingers in the last two rounds would be punishing. But this is not a sprint race of any stretch. This is a real cerebral race.
Absolutely is, and at the end of the day, you've got to be in it to win it. And these two guys have been in it to win it from the very start, and it's been a fantastic season for it. There's been no sort of disrespect, no colossal dramas or anything between the two of them. You know, it's always been a really fair fight, and we couldn't ask for anything more from them. It's been really great to watch yet again this season in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. This is good to watch as well, and it's continuing to get spicier and spicier here as Johnny Elia closes up to the back of James Cummings for third position. He's well in the slipstream now, is Johnny, and he's bringing his teammate with him as well, I'd say. Mark Baxter-Jones not far off the back of these guys as well. But Cummings is a wise racer. He knows what he's doing. He knows when to defend, what he's got to do. But Johnny, well, he's been racing in the real world as well this season for the 11 Tenths Racing team. They've been racing in the Enduro Car series here in the UK that races Ford KAs, and in a very standard form as well, just with roll cages, and I think they're actually on standard suspension as well. But they do endurance racing.
Meant to be standard engines, but not. I don't think the Nick Tandy engine is. It's still standard everything, but he's had it on the dyno apparently at JTR.
Oh right.
And it's running probably more power than any Ford car of that description is produced in the history of the Ford car.
Oh, so it's got 35.
Yeah, it's up from 33.5 to 35. Yeah. It might just pull the edge off that rice pudding. Maybe.
One day
with a big run up. The gap's increasing at the front.
It is
2.2 now. So
into the 2.3s.
Yes, and the pace wise, the pace is blistering. You know, last lap 1:59.1. You know, we're not a million miles off qualifying pace. They've both set a high 58 so far, but Johnny Cullen took 0.6 of a second out of Tsuruta last time by. So I think Tsuruta now is thinking, okay, my only card to play here is make sure that I'm absolutely safe on the fuel save, or save a couple of laps, or save a bit of time at the pump. That's the only card he can play now, because pace-wise, Cullen's got the edge.
Yeah, you can see the gaps creeping up and up and up now. It's 2.6. It's about to go to 2.7 seconds. So Tsuruta has definitely backed off somewhere to, you know, save a bit of fuel here and there and give himself that advantage, that guaranteed advantage of having a one stop, because just by losing half a second every lap here or there, you could gain 30, 40 seconds from being in the pit lane. It's a long old pit lane here at Sebring as well. And one of the key things that people always forget about is how important pit lane entry and exit is. It's a tantalizingly slow pit entry here at Sebring. You have to be really careful at sunset and properly slow yourself down. But yeah, you're going to be tiptoeing all the way in, and I think some people will overdo it over the course of tonight. I reckon we may see one or two drivers spin on the way in, but well, we wait and see now. The gap is up to 2.8 seconds. Tsuruta gains a little bit on the brakes into turn one, but it will spread back out again. This battle's still going strong, though. Johnny Elia trying to chase down James Cummings and get closer and closer to him. But again, it might just be an opportunity for him to save fuel here, Peter, rather than actually have a go and make a move. What do you think?
I think so. I think Johnny Elia is pretty comfortable here. Sat in beside behind James Cummings. Got about 9 minutes-ish to go until the pits come in, so the next pit stop. So they'll be hoping to have 5 laps from here to be able to hit that pit stop mark. Because, like we say, if you have to have that splash and dash at the end, you're going to lose so much time. So it's imperative that you save enough to be able to hit that half-an-hour mark. If you're going into the pits at around half an hour to go, you're fine, because you've got the time to come in. You've got to put the fuel in the car, put new tyres on if you wish, and then go back out again, at which point a minute or so has elapsed. So you're going to be fine as long as you drive in the same manner as you did on the opening stint. So that's what we're going to keep the closest eye on here, is who's going to hit that mark.
And the thing is as well is that if you've been, I was trying to think of a good way to explain this, but I've still not found it. Can you tell? It's just the fact that if you are that driver that takes it easy in the first part of the race, it's then how long have you got to recuperate that as well? Because if you have to take a splash and dash right at the end of the race, you've got no time to make that back up again. It's not like you've got the second stop, oh well, I might have lost time here, but at least I've got another 15-20 minutes to make it back up. You'll only have a handful of laps at most to make up whatever you can. And sometimes when you're trying to get back into a rhythm, especially in an endurance race like this, that's not going to be enough time for anybody. You'll just coast around and do 3 laps at whatever position you ended up at. You've sort of cemented yourself a bit more there. So yeah, I'm intrigued by who is some of the first drivers to pit. We actually have had a few in already. I think Gilles Gardner's been in the pit lane. He was stationary for 16 seconds. Oh, Alistair Hatcher has just been in the wall at the final corner. He continues on. A little bit of damage on the left-hand side. That looked slightly like it was crabbing. I'm not quite sure if it was in a really bad way. Dearie me. Wow, how did he not hit the inside wall there?
Well,
that's actually impressive.
Yeah, and I think that would have been a good time to come into the pits and get that repair. Mark Johnson is in the pits now for a stop. So some of the drivers are not even taking on the challenge of saving a fuel stop. They're lying in the 2 pit stop bed right now. Let's see. That's going to be tricky to come back from, I do think. Big hello to Drew Fletcher, one of the series competitors, but also one of the sponsors from Devonshire Holiday Homes. It's been a great season. He's not racing tonight as he hasn't had time to practice due to work. He promises he's not been pulling pork again, and he's Chaz, he's on the charm offensive. He says thanks to our fantastic commentators. Stop it,
Drew.
Stop it.
We love you, Drew. Thank you very much again for sponsoring the championship, and obviously hope you and the family have a very Merry Christmas as well. And we're gutted not to see Drew back out here actually tonight, because he was the previous winner at Le Mans in the AM class. He took the race victory. He was very happy with it. He said no practice is the way to go. James Cummings has just lost 3rd place though, Peter. I think he got a slowdown penalty in the right-hander just before that final straight. Out of Le Mans, it's really easy to get a slowdown penalty sometimes if you overdo it. And I think Cummings has been the one to, unfortunately, relinquish a position. One of the first guys I think we've seen have that problem tonight.
Well, the drivers in the virtual paddock after Le Mans last week, they were all absolutely cursing the slowdown penalties, which on the iRacing platform. Le Mans is known for it. Now this will be why if you breach track limits, that'll do it. Yeah, that's a big breach. That is enough to give you what's called a slowdown penalty, where you effectively have to where it's safe to do so, slow down for a given period of time, give the time back, and then get back on again. And the result of that has been that he's had to relinquish the place to Johnny Elia. Johnny Elia is probably thinking that happened at the perfect time. He's done enough fuel saving behind Cummings. Now he's actually probably got enough fuel in his pocket where he can push on a bit. Maybe got a bit more tyre even. Let's see if that's how it transpires. Alistair Hatcher has decided to come into the pits. I think he'll be taking his fast repair there. Or has he? Yes, I thought, is that a scratch? No, it's a sticker on the rear left haunch of the car.
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult with these liveries. It's almost the same with Johnny Cullen's car as well. It's a very striking sort of, not a messy livery as in it doesn't look good, but it's a messy livery. There's a lot going on it.
The devil is in the detail of the 666 car.
It is, very literally. And when you see the car with a little bit of damage on it here and there, you have to really look for it. Like, you can't notice it straight away on that car. So it's quite a good bit of camouflage, essentially, for making sure that your opponents don't know you've got a damaged car. Just saw Rob Sharp in the background there in 6th position. Yet again, Rob under the radar. Lovely bloke, though, is Rob. He's a fantastic sport. And he's just sitting there scoring points yet again here at the moment, Peter. And he was in a bit of a battle earlier on, but it seems to have all faded away a little bit now. So he's on the hunt for points, as Cummings is on the hunt for fuel, and so too is Mr. Sharp, actually. So a few of them definitely not going it. No, not going for the half hour.
They're not making it. So that is fascinating. How interesting then for all of you. The pit lane now getting very busy as well. Stuart Clark, James Cummings, Rob Sharp, Byron Crawford, Ryan Penny, they're all in. They're all. James Cummings is going to take tyres. He goes up onto the jacks. Rob Sharp likewise. Byron Crawford comes in likewise. Stuart Clark, is he going to go for? No. So Stuart Clark has decided to go for fuel only. So he's really the outlier of all that bunch in the pit lane right now. So could Stuart Clark get a bit of a time advantage here? So James Cummings, off he goes. And now the drivers, you've got to make about a lap and a half more, and you can get home with just that one stop. So Cullen leads by 3.7 seconds. So the 666 at the moment is in position to pinch the championship at the last round. He's outpacing Christian Tsuruta right now, but is he doing it at the expense of is he using too much fuel? Is he able to run this pace and hit that half an hour mark for the pit stop? That is critical to the outcome of this race.
Yep, absolutely is. And I think, to be honest, it's looking very, very healthy for Johnny Cullen right now. He's still kissing the grass here and there, though, isn't he? He's really running the limit very close. He's right in the middle of the road as well through Sunset, and carrying the speed with a wider line instead of going really tight and sort of overdoing it on the brakes. It's great driving so far by Johnny Cullen. He's come so close so many times before, hasn't he? Not just last season, but I think the season before that as well. He was really close to winning this championship, and it continues to be a big chase. As we see here, Paul Goffin up into 6th place now is Paul Goffin, chasing down Stephen Kershaw. Some of these guys potentially pitting this time round. Yes, Kershaw and Goffin, and behind them as well, Oliver Carwadine. In comes Mark Baxter-Jones. Now he goes for tyres, and interestingly, Johnny Elia just in front of him doesn't. Yeah,
and they're a lap short on the fuel as well. That's fascinating. So Johnny Elia, yeah, he's going to go. So we should see Elia pull away significantly before Mark Baxter-Jones does. Oh no, Elia was up on the jacks. It looked like he wasn't. The car dropped, so he must have been up on the jacks. So off they go then on the same strategy. So Cullen and Tsuruta, not only the two fastest drivers, they're the two most economical drivers as well.
Yeah.
It just rubs it in, doesn't it? So what it means then is at the end of this lap, I would imagine we'll see Cullen and Tsuruta both come into pit lane now. They are in the position to get to the end of the race on this one stop they're about to take right now, whereas everybody else in the field is basically going to have to take 2. Maybe if Johnny Ely and Mark Baxter-Jones go on a super fuel save, they might be able to get just off over the line without taking that extra splash and dash. Maybe. But they're going to have to really get on the fuel save straight away.
I was going to say, I think sometimes what you can usually do as a driver is you'll absolutely rag it for the first stint and just go for it. You know, rather than worrying and doing the maths for your first stint, which is usually busier, you just go for it from the off. See what the car will do, and then you can adjust and calculate for your second stint. Both of our leaders, as Peter rightly pointed out, come in bang on the half-hour mark. Now, let's not forget, though, just because they've come in with 10 seconds to spare before the half-hour doesn't mean that they now have to do 30 minutes and 10 seconds of driving, because the time taken up by being in the pits is what takes up a big chunk of the rest of the race for them. Johnny Cullen does go up on the jacks. Will Saruta go up on the jacks as well? Yes, he will. He's just matching him now. I don't think that was just him matching him, to be fair. He's just doing it because you need the tyres, you need the fuel. Let's see how these guys come out of the pit lane. Lovely stuff here by our director, Hugo Luis. Thank you very much, mate.
Oh, it's tense.
On board. Down goes Cullen, and wow, goodness me.
That's the worst view in the world, watching your rival just disappear, going bye-bye.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrid. So out the pit lane they come. How did they fare in terms of pit stops? So Saruta was in the box for 22.4 seconds. Cullen 21.8. So there's a very small amount of difference in the fuel. They're both filling up as far as it can go. So effectively, Cullen, although he led, was actually ever so slightly more frugal. Ever so slightly. Wow.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know how he's done that, but he's done everything right so far. And now, of course, they've got less than 29 minutes of the race left to go. So they don't certainly need to worry too much about saving fuel for this second part, but they'll still have to keep their eye on it. There's definitely a little bit to be done. They can't just go all guns blazing into this second stint. We look here at James Cummings, who has lost another place to Mark Baxter-Jones. Mark actually came out of the pits in front of him after James had pitted earlier. Usually you see a bit of an undercut, don't you? You sort of gain track position from pitting early and being the one with the run out of the pit lane, or down the straight, I should say, instead of being out of the pit lane. But Baxter-Jones has made it work again. That extra lap obviously meaning a shorter amount of time stationary at the pump, as Peter said earlier. And the race is on now, not just for the championship and for the race lead, but for these guys as well for the final podium spot honours, because this is certainly a prestigious race of the championship to try and do well in.
It is, yeah, much like it is in the real world. You want to win Le Mans, you want to win Sebring, Daytona, Watkins Glen, Petit Le Mans. They're the big enduros of the year. Isn't it telling that 3 of them are in America? 4 of them, in fact, are in America. Those are the ones you really want to win. And, well, it's basically going to be the way that, by my quick maths, Cullen and Saruta will have to do the same number of laps on this stint as they did in the first stint. So it's pretty much they've got to drive in an identical way. They cannot use a drop more fuel than they did in that first stint. Otherwise, as you say, they're in trouble, Chaz. So it's not sealed up yet for either Cullen or Saruta. Cullen, I mean, is Cummings very wide at turn 1. So Cullen, opened up a bit more time as well through that pit stop cycle. In terms of their time through the lane, there was 0.6 quicker in the box, but actually Cullen was 0.9 faster in the lane. So just got that coming into the pits, absolutely perfect. Coming out, absolutely perfect. So this is as an execution under the greatest pressure so far from Johnny Cullen has just been fantastic to watch. And Christian Saruta, if he wants to defend that Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing title, he's got to dig very, very deep in the next 26 minutes. Whilst, by the way, you've got to save fuel as well as lap quickly.
Yeah, that's it. There's still quite a lot to juggle here. Just because they've made it to the pit stop and then they've got the fuel strategy figured out, that doesn't mean the race is over at all. They've still got to actually drive the thing. They've got to wrangle it to the end. And let's not forget, all of this is happening in cars that quite frankly, while it is an amazing race car, it's not an easy one to drive. Out of all the GT3 cars, the Porsche is a fantastic user experience. You really feel what the car does, but it's not easy at all, is it, compared to the likes of a front-engine beast that's usually a lot stabler in as a rule of thumb.
I do think it's a massive step on an improvement from the 991 on iRacing.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But the trade-off for that is it understeers more. It's a safer car. It's a better endurance car, no question about it. But it understeers, and for a circuit like Sebring, you don't want a car that understeers. It's horrid in certain places. But again, it's a trade-off. I remember doing Bathurst 12-hour with the old car, the 991, and coming over the hill in McPhillamy Park towards Skyline. The thing just wanted to rip your head off every single lap. And whereas this car won't do it, you can almost go through there absolutely pinned to the wall. So it's a very different car in the way that it behaves on iRacing. But have you driven the new Audi yet on iRacing, the new R8 Evo 2?
I've not actually, no, but I keep meaning
it understeers as well. Whereas the old one didn't. Yeah,
the old one was. I used to race in the World GT Championship in the old car, and it was. It had this skinny little rear wing on it. The Audi R8s always have, but 130R was that car's nightmare. And I remember almost quitting the championship one night on the spot because of the fact that I had a run through at Suzuka doing 3 races there. And every race I was out of the race because of a spin at 130R where the car had just let go completely at the back end. But yeah, I've heard that it's a bit more of an understeer pig in comparison. Which, to be honest, I think anyone would welcome from a car like that that's mid-engine.
Well, that's the thing. It handles more like a road-going Audi. And I can say that as a customer, I bought an RS3 about 4 or 5 years ago, and it understeered a lot. It sounded good though. It was an absolute rocket ship in a straight line, 5-cylinder engine. It was great, but yeah, understeer central. There we go. So there you go. This an amateur view, driving dynamics for dummies with Peter and Chaz.
Yeah, well, I'm no natural car reviewer. I'll just get in something fast and say it's fast. But yeah, it's been a definite step up though, this 992, and I mean. I like the 991 shape. I love the 991. I think it's a beautiful looking car. I don't think the GT3 car looked particularly fantastic, but this 992 looks so much wider, so much flatter and more aggressive. I mean, the hips on it as well. It's got a big old backside as this 992, and it certainly looks the part. It's a beautiful race car, and that the 959 style rear light that goes all the way across, that always gets me excited. It's a great bit of kit.
It does. It's got, and they've emulated that on the 963 prototype too. That signature light strip, which used to be the kind of telltale of a Carrera 4S, or a Carrera, or any Carrera 4 for that matter. But it's now sort of across the board. So Cullen he's extending the lead. He's just marching away, 7.5 seconds to the good. With a 159.4 last time by 159.5 for Saruta, so it did steady a little on the last lap, but since they came out of the pits, Cullen has nearly put 3 seconds onto his already pretty good advantage, and he'll know. You can be really sure that if he hit the mark in the first stint, he knows exactly the number he's got to hit. He knows that, and the cool thing is about the dashboard on this 992 model, much like the 991 did as well, it gives you very clear data on what your usage is per lap, and you can then know exactly what the number is you've got to hit to be able to reach that. You can map it all out, just quick maths. And prior to the race, I just can't do the maths and drive at the same time. I don't have that.
No, I don't know.
I have to work it out before and know where I stand. And then, of course, you crash, and then you're like, oh, I've got to redo the maths now.
Yeah,
and then it all falls apart. Yes.
Yeah, it's never easy, because let's not forget as well, at the end of the day, with drivers like these guys, when they're doing all of this, you know, they're doing it on their own. They've not got a team and a crew chief behind them that are doing all the maths and the things for them, and managing the strategy over the course of an endurance race. It's all just down to the driver behind the wheel. Sure, sometimes you do have a crew chief or somebody spotting for you and telling you what's going on, but it's not often that we see that. It's more often than not they'll just be on their own. And yeah, I'm with you, Peter. I mean, I can't do maths anyway, but I mean, doing it while I'm driving and trying to actually put lap times in, which I can't also do either. There's a reason I'm a commentator. It's just so much to think about, and the fact that these guys can battle for championships and be at such a high pace while managing a strategy, while managing a fuel load, that's often very overlooked, I think. And that's what makes it even more impressive, is that we get these drivers like our Johnny Cullens and our Christian Cerrutas, and even these guys on our screens right now, at this sort of level that they're at, managing the strategy is so important and so impressive. I'm really, really enjoying watching them do it.
Well, that's really what the very best endurance racers have, that attribute of how they're able to, really assess a race. David Brabham was like that. Timo Bernhard was like that, where they were just so good over a whole stint. They could get their elbows out when they wanted to, but the sheer ruthless, relentless pace and management of everything that needed to be done, just fantastic. Big hello as well to Adam Watson, star of the World GT Championship for Altitude Esports. A few comments from him. Ford Ka versus Citroen C1 endurance race. Now that would be a great match race, because there's a lot of both of those cars in the UK. Imagine that, it was Ka versus Ford versus Citroen, like your points race. That would be very cool. So that you can get the fuel saving done round here. Turn 2, turn 7, 10, 13, 15 and 17. So there's a few opportunities there, and prefers the Cup car 991, but the GT3R prefers the 992. I have to say, on balance, I think the 992 is a more stable platform here in iRacing. I do wonder if that increased understeer is maybe to do more with the new tyre model, possibly. The fact that you get it on the new Audi as well.
Yeah, very true. Very true, actually. There's always a lot of development on iRacing, and that's what I find quite interesting. The cars and the content never get stale. That's what I always enjoy about it. It's always developing, it's always changing. So the drivers have always got something new to drive and something new to learn, and you as a driver, it makes you even better, because it means that you're more versatile. You're used to adaptation and these different iterations of the cars, much like you would be in the real world. You have different tyre suppliers come into a championship, for example. From one year to the next, you have to adapt to driving on a different tyre anyway there. So people often say, oh, this wouldn't happen in the real world, but something similar often would. And again, it's another string to the bow of how impressive sim racing is in general, but the people that can do it and jump from one car to the next, I really do admire what they do. I'm admiring what Ryan Penny's doing right now as well, from on board the number 14 car of Oliver Carwadine. Ryan Penny continues to lead the AM class, continues to get quicker and quicker. He's not just leading the class in this race, he's leading it in the championship as well, and he is on his way to be crowned AM champion. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what this last quarter of the race has in store for us, Peter.
Yeah, as am I. Yeah, as am I. Carwadine with the sporting the Derek Bell helmet with the Union Jack on the front. Very, very cool. And of course, Derek's son Justin carried on that design into his racing. So you can see a little bit of drafting there in front from Ryan Penny, behind Stephen Kershaw. No, Alex Owen, excuse me, who's going a lap down. Owen just pulling out the way, running one of the best liveries of the season, I think, the Targa Florio 9083 throwback of the John Wyer operated Gulf team. Although, it's interesting, the Gulf team were actually contracted as the number one team at that point, but actually there wasn't a great deal of I think corporate people would call synergy between the Porsche management and the John Wyer Racing management, who had the Gulf team, and actually it was the Martini team who really in the end got the kind of preferential treatment, and ended up winning Le Mans in 71, mainly because the Martini cars were prepared at the Porsche factory, not whereas Gulf, they prepared their own.
Very intriguing. That's the thing, there's been a lot of great customers as well as the works teams as well, hasn't there, that have been and gone down the line, and so many iconic liveries and brands and names that have driven for Porsche. And it's great to see that heritage and that history is still so strong, and it's a brand that's proud of it as well. That's one thing that I always love about Porsche, is that there is so much history and there's such a great following for it too. So the people that are enthusiastic enough about it, like these guys, of course, in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. In Porsche Club of Great Britain, you don't really get much more enthusiastic than that, do you, by actually owning one of the things? But the little jokes here and there, the little liveries and the hints and the sort of the knowledge, it's such a great place to be for that, because it's not even a niche. Everybody knows what a Porsche is. It's a household name. And the fact that we can go racing them like this around a circuit like this virtually so well is, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad we've been doing it for this long. It still goes strong, Peter.
It does, yeah. It's a great privilege, and you think for us, it's Porsche Club of Great Britain holds, and I don't think I'd be speaking out of turn to say, but the same for you, Chaz. It holds a very close place in our heart, and it's transcended my commentary career. I know yours has gone a bit longer than that, but it's been an ever-present part of my commentary life, and long may that continue.
Yeah, same with me. I started only in 2017 commentating on iRacing, and it's what started my commentary career, if anything. And yeah, a long way it continue indeed. It's great that we can still be here and do this together though, and have a good laugh, because I still remember watching many 991 Cup cars tumbling down the hill at Donington Park when we did the first race of this, and we wondered, with our good friend Jack Werrell as well, we wondered what on earth we'd got ourselves into. And
what on earth is this? Yeah, but I remember that first season fondly. With it wasn't just the first race. I think the second one might have been even worse.
I think it was actually. Yeah.
But this is why we've still got such a great grid in this championship, is because there was a real community feel where those who had maybe real life racing experience or were very fast in the sim put an arm around those who were maybe less experienced or not as confident, and brought the whole level of the championship up, and the professionalism of the championship up. And some drivers who aren't with us this season, Mark Phillips, Bernie, we do like to poke fun at him as Bernie, but Bernie did pretty well with Formula One in his time. So our Bernie did a very good job too at his point at the helm of the championship. Carl Sharkey, Matt Donington, of course, still sponsors the championship to this day with Midas Simulations. So many people who have contributed to this championship over the years.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic culmination of many, many great people, and like we say, it continues to be that, and the driving standards are just awesome now as well. There's still incidents, because at the end of the day, there always is in racing. The best drivers in the world have incidents, and this is a virtual form where peripheral vision and G-forces aren't as prominent, so you can't always see as much in the sim as you would in the real car, so it's often more difficult to know if there's a car down your inside and so on. But I tell you what, we've got gorgeous conditions right now. We're just at that twilight where you can see the headlights lighting up the road and the cars around them. You can see, if we go on board, the cat's eyes at the side of the circuit here at Sebring glowing away. The sun is just setting. It's not quite a golden sky anymore. Like, it's almost this sort of off-white colour, as it's still quite bright. But this is prime Sebring right now, Peter. We've got a wonderful orchestra behind us made up of 6 cylinders. And, well, we've got a great field that is still battling away, but it's been quite a tame race so far, actually. There's not been any big dramas, but everybody's just stayed in their lane, haven't they? And you have to respect them for that, because it's not easy to do.
No, it really isn't. It really isn't difficult. It really isn't easy to do that. So Carmodine showing just that, how this is just such a busy lap here at Sebring. It is quite a mentally taxing circuit, but the sheer lack of driving errors from these competitors is just amazing to see. So pleased and so proud of the championship and the standard of driving here that we're seeing. Cullen, I know we're hammering the point, but it deserves it. Johnny Cullen has opened up an 11.5 second gap to Christian Tsuruta. That is, considering they were 600ths of a second apart in qualifying, Cullen is just dominating this race. He's out front, he's in a groove, and he's gone. He is absolutely gone. In fact, Tsuruta, Johnny is only 3 and a bit seconds ahead of Johnny Elia, who was actually 2/10 quicker than him last time by. So Tsuruta's second place is far from secure.
No, absolutely. It could go from bad to worse for Christian Tsuruta. I mean, second place is not a bad thing, but considering that he came here leading the championship and may lose the championship as a result of this race, is not good at all. Ryan Penny's just had a bit of a wobble there. He had a wobble through Sunset as well, actually, and lost a place to Oliver Carwadine. The car just got away from him there through the first corner as well, and now Paul Goffin's got ahead. So maybe Ryan just had a bit of a moment as heated up the tyres quite a bit, and it's just been a little bit squirrely for a few moments. He's got a good 15 seconds or so over the car behind of Alistair Hatcher, so he doesn't need to worry too much as long as he keeps Paul Goffin in his sights here and has a target to follow. Because like me, Peter, I know there's a few drivers that are better when they're following a car in front rather than leading with cars behind. So if Ryan can just use Paul Goffin as a bright yellow reference, I'm sure he'll be a lot more comfortable and can just ease his way to that championship. But yeah, that trio of 3rd, 4th and 5th place, Johnny Elia, Mark Baxter-Jones and James Cummings, they are getting closer and closer to our race leaders, and I don't think it's going to be all comfortable running for Christian Tsuruta in these last moments.
No, definitely not. Definitely not for Tsuruta. The only caveat to that might be is that Elia may well have to pit on the final lap to take on a splash of fuel. So although Elia's charging, he would have to go 2 laps longer than he did in the opening stint. But let's see as we ride with Mark Baxter-Jones hunting down his teammate. Interesting there, just flipping down to 4th gear, coming through at turn 1. Quite an amazing corner, but that back in the late 2000s in the American Le Mans series, where really it was at its absolute peak of development, particularly 2008, where you had the monstrous Audi R10 TDI, and actually the Peugeot came over to race here at Sebring, but actually it was the LMP2 cars that took the attention. The Acura HPD ARX 01, as it was then, was an absolute monster, huge amounts of aero, and then you had the Porsche RS Spider, and Marco Andretti in the Acura was absolutely flat through turn 1. No lift whatsoever. Imagine that, over the bumps and everything.
Wow. That is pretty terrifying as a prospect, but that's the thing, the different breeds of driver, isn't there? Absolutely different breeds, and it is, well...
I think even the other Acura guys are going, you are mad.
Yeah.
But even at that time, Mosport was the same. Mosport was turning 1 and 2 flat. Turn 3 was just a tiny breathe off. Turn 4 flat. Turn 5 was braking. Turn 7 at the end of the straight, absolutely flat. And then a little bit of a breathe off. Really, there was 3 corners. There was the final corner, turn 5 and turn 3. They're the only corners in an LMP2 car in 2008.
It's just scary beyond belief. But that's the thing, there's times where, I mean, look at even Formula 1, for example. There's so many times where the cars go back 10, 15 years have been quicker than they are now, and we're only just getting back up to a higher pace. But that's just due to development. They can get to a point where it gets a bit ridiculous and everybody goes, okay, chill out a sec now. And then all of a sudden, we're knocked down a few pegs, and then they build up, and the developers and the engineers find ways to make them as quick as they were again. It's just excellent. As into the pits comes James Cummings and Rob Sharp. So their second pit stops will be...
Yeah, Rob Sharp is taking his pit stop. So 2-stop strategy then for Sharp, Byron Crawford, Stuart Clark, Ryan Penny, as we expected. As we mentioned, we only expect Cullen and Tsuruta to be able to do this on 1 stop. Whilst their overall pace is impressive, it's even more so that they're able to do that on just the 1 stop.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like it's not just the guys at the very sharp end, though. There's many of them that have made this look good, but it's just because of the fuel limit they've not been able to do it. As Mark Baxter-Jones, the back end of the car just kicks out slightly for him there as he goes through Tower. I love Tower and I hate Tower all at the same time, because it's such a cool corner when you get it right, but the curb is the sharpest and tallest thing in the world, never mind the Burj Khalifa. And then you've got the exit curb as well, which it's like you've fallen in a ditch on the side of a Welsh B road when you go off the side of that curb. It's just horrible. It bottoms out the car, it digs in those left wheels, it either drags you to the left and you keep running wide, or it throws you to the right, and it is just horrible, horrible stuff. But you get that corner right, you nail the braking, you just miss that curb on the inside, and you just straddle the exit curb enough. You feel like an absolute legend heading around there. It's a great, great bit of circuit, and obviously separates the drivers in terms of their skill level, doesn't it, Peter?
It does, yeah. That's what makes Sebring special. You know, if you say, right, we're going to take a completely flat airfield, or flat-ish airfield, and we're just going to map out a circuit on it. The design of the circuit is so, and it's not like you can say, oh, it is like Spa follows the natural curvature of the land, the Nürburgring follows the natural curvature of the land. Here it was pure design, and that's what makes it special. That's what makes Sebring just a treasure, and I put it right up there alongside a Le Mans or Nürburgring or Bathurst, where we have a duty as a sport to look after these places and preserve them for the future, because they are so special. Not just because we say they are and they've been around a long time, they have genuine credibility, they've got genuine reason to be revered like that.
Yeah, definitely. I see a list of circuits, and I wouldn't ever put Sebring against, normal Grand Prix circuits like the Hungaroring or the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. If you see sim racing calendars, I often only use Sebring if it's going to be something really good. I wouldn't just throw it into any old series, because it's a special event, this circuit. It really is. And obviously, I know that it hosts one, obviously the 12 Hours of Sebring, but it's just so special that you can't just take it for granted. That's the phrase. You can't take it for granted and have it in amongst any old calendar. And these guys certainly do a great job of racing around it for their endurance races, of which there are not many in their seasons. But yeah, I'm absolutely with you, Peter. And describing it as a treasure as well, that's very well worded. I think it is an absolute treasure. And it's one of those tracks that hasn't changed that much in time either. It hasn't lost its character through changes for safety reasons or to slow cars down in certain places. It's not been spoiled, has it?
That's right. I mean, it used to be a lot longer. It used to use a lot more of the kind of real estate around this kind of airfield. So it has been adapted over time. But the surface, you're right, has not changed. And that design, things have to evolve with time, and it's just kept its character all the way through. Carradine is stuck his way up to 5th because he's just about to come into the pits. Cummings carries on. Goffin also in for a quick splash and go. It's going to be a very, very, very quick splash and go. Now, question is, can the 11/10ths guys, can they somehow magic an extra couple of laps out of their GT3R's fuel tanks? They didn't quite manage it in the first stint, but the big teller will be, do they come into the pits at the end of this lap, or do they carry on? Because if they carry on, they're going all in. They're risking it to do it all on one stop, and if they can get it home with that, they'll be rewarded with a podium. Whether it be Mark Baxter-Jones or Johnny Elia, well, will remain to be seen. But at the front of the field with 2 minutes left on the clock, Johnny Cullen and Christian Tsuruta, well, Cullen sits 13 seconds in the lead right now. A gap I honestly didn't think we'd be talking about after practice and qualifying. Cullen, the way that he's turned it on, particularly in this last portion of the season, this last endurance swing, the endurance format seems to have really suited the driver of the 666. He comes on to take the white flag last lap of the race and last lap of the season. If Johnny Cullen can get this Porsche 911 GT3R to the checkered flag, he will pinch his first Porsche Club of Great Britain championship at the very last round.
Well, he's not got long now to go, and it's just been an amazing, amazing final couple of rounds from him, and we know that whether it be endurance racing or sprint racing, there was no sort of favourite to either of these drivers because they've both been great at all rounds. You know, their pace has been amazing, whether it is sprint or endurance. And I wouldn't have been able to pick tonight. You know, if you'd have said, "Are you a betting man?" You know, put some money on it. I wouldn't have had any idea. We spoke to Christian last week, and he did say that he knows that Johnny was quick here. He likes Sebring, but you never know because some of the drivers, they tell us they don't like circuits, and then there'll be an absolute missile around them. But Johnny Cullen has responded exactly how any deserving champion should react. If you know you're behind and you're chasing the points leader. And it's just been a joy to watch. It really has. And let's not take anything away from Christian Tsuruta because what an amazing season he's had once again. But it looks like the 666, devilishly fast, as we've said, Peter, is going to take the crown, and very deservingly so.
Yeah, and by my mathematics, by 1 point, came into this round 3 points behind with the drop scores calculated. And, well, it's we'll get, it's of course all provisional. As Carbadine comes in to take a final splash towards the end, but it's all provisional right now. But by our maths here, Johnny Cullen will be crowned the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. We'll wait for official confirmation, but Johnny Cullen, what we can tell you, is your winner here at Sebring. It's a circuit that's been so kind to Porsche, and it's been very kind indeed to Johnny Cullen. He wins here in Florida by a gargantuan sum of time. Christian Tsuruta will come home in second place, your defending champion. Quite incredible. And Johnny Cullen, I think, is going to give us some celebratory donuts. Yep, there it goes.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic stuff by Johnny Cullen. He's come close before, but he's got the job done here, and he is your Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Champion for Season 7, and he deserves that so much. He's fought back as well. What a great story it's been. Commiserations to Christian Tsuruta, but congratulations on another great campaign. But that's not all, folks, because we still have other drivers making their way to the flag. This driver, a very important one indeed. It is Ryan Penny, car number 99, chasing down Stephen Kershaw. There is no requirement for Ryan to take this position right now, other than for a bit of bragging rights and a top 10, because he, Peter, is going to take the AM Championship for Season 7. And what a great turn-up for the Bucks this has been for Ryan. What a great season.
Yeah, quite amazing. Quite amazing from Ryan, being so solid all year round. And he's going to come round, take a class win to close off what has been an absolutely superb season. And his mascot on the roof brought him luck yet again.
He did indeed. Carl Hazelton wins the AM Championship without knowing it. But it's as of a part of the roof of Ryan Penny's Porsche 992 GT3R. Well done to Ryan. Very, very good stuff. He's good friends with Carl, and he's actually up from my neck of the woods as well, up here near Porsche Centre Chester. And he is your AM champion for Season 7 in car 99. And, well, we've got a really positive vibe here tonight, Peter.
Carl's spinning around. Get out of his way.
No, I was going to sing something about allocation.
Last day of school.
Yeah, absolutely last day of school indeed. School's out for winter. But it's a great early Christmas present for Ryan Penny and for Johnny Cullen. The two of them will be over the moon with that. But there's your race results. Peter will go through that, and then we'll speak to some drivers, shall we?
Yes, looking forward very much to hearing what they have to say. So, Johnny Cullen, your winner by 13.4 seconds. And by our calculations, that would make him your provisional Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Champion. Johnny Elia came home on the podium. A great performance from him. Mark Baxter-Jones was 4th. James Cummings was 5th. Rob Sharp 6th. Then it was Myron Crawford, Stuart Clark, Paul Goffin, and Stephen Kershaw gets in there in the top 10 to close out the season. Ryan Penny, your winner in AM and your champion in AM. Alistair Hatcher just nudges ahead of Gilles Gardner. Very, very tight there. Then it was Kim Such, Oliver Carbadine, Danny Jones, Andrew Soper, Alex Owen, and Mark Johnson rounds out our 19 car grid today here at Sebring. Well, we've got lots of happy drivers to to have a chat with, and I think there's no better driver to start with. Well, actually, change of tact, Chaz. Change of tact. We've got, before we speak to our drivers, who I'm sure will all make their way to our waiting area, we need to make our commentators' choices, don't we?
We do, absolutely, yes. So what's happening once again this season, everybody, is that we have a commentator's prize each season for a pro driver and an AM driver as well. And we've given this award out for many seasons, almost all seasons now, for this championship. Steve Kershaw has got in touch with Peter and I to make sure we are well prepared for this one. And Peter and I had to come together and decide on a driver from each category that we feel has put in fantastic performances or improved really well from a season before, or followed the ethos of the championship and the positive vibe that we always try to spread here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. And we made our decisions earlier today, and Peter will reveal them now for each category. Peter.
Yeah, so our choices for this 7th season of the Porsche Club of Great Britain in Pro, our Commentator's Choice Award goes to Johnny Elia for his incredible pace all season long, but also performances representing the club in the Porsche Sim Racing Challenge as well, which we broadcast here on RaceSpotTV at a win at Donington Park month or two ago. And in AM, and I think this is the one that it really is deserved, is Gilles Gardner. Gilles Gardner has been a huge contributor to the overall sim racing club here with the Porsche Club of Great Britain in so many ways, with the liveries and photography, etc. But his pace, Chaz, the level he stepped up this season and the approach he's brought to this racing has just been fantastic to see.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no hiding the fact that we've got drivers still in the championship that from day dot have improved so much, but drivers that have maybe been on a bit of a slower glide slope for that. But Gilles' pace has improved so much in this last season alone. He's really come to life with it. He's been fighting for AM class victories, and he's just been a real star to watch on the circuit. And combining that with how much of a contributor he is, and such a lovely bloke as well, we felt that it was just right to give it to Gilles Gardner this season. So congratulations, both of you. The prize itself, I've just taken off my screen, but it was either a subscription to Race Labs or VRS to the drivers, basically, that win that. They get the choice, and it's provided by Drew Fletcher of Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Thank you very much, Drew, the championship sponsor. And yeah, we'll organise that behind the scenes with the drivers. So congratulations.
Well, now it's time to chat to our race winner here at Sebring. It's Johnny Cullen who is down with our very own Chaz Draycott.
Johnny, very, very well done first off. You are the champion of Season 7 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. That must sound pretty good considering how it was a few weeks ago, mate.
How did that happen? What happened?
You were rapid, that's what happened. I mean, it again, as I said at Le Mans, it didn't look easy though. I know a lot of people will see this from the outside. They'll see you just ticking away and putting the laps in, but thinking about the fuel around here tonight on such a challenging circuit, that can't have been an easy race to run.
I am absolutely dripping and absolutely knackered. It was the hardest, in some ways, the hardest race of the season. Actually, even though you've got big leads, you're watching the fuel, you're watching what other people are doing, you're thinking about people coming out the pits, you're coming up to that penultimate lap, and you're like, "Where's the white flag? Please, where's the white flag? Come on, white flag! Come on, white flag, man! Where are you?"
Begging for that French military flag. It's one of the weird things about it though is that you've obviously had to come into tonight as the guy that was behind in the championship. That can't be an easy thing to have going through your head, because you've got less to lose, I suppose, of not having the championship lead, but it's not easy to have that, is it, to go chasing the points rather than just do damage limitation?
No, especially when you don't know, because the fuel strategy was so borderline. You don't know what other people are going to do. You're mentally working out in your head all week, and you're like, "Oh, they're going to do this. What am I going to do if they do this?" And it's mentally challenging as well as physically.
And what's it like at this point now then? You've clinched the championship. You've had a fantastic season-long battle with Christian though, haven't you?
Oh,
it's always
great.
Been a fair fight and a really top-level fight as well. What's it been like battling with Christian this season?
Oh, absolutely superb. I mean, you you always want someone to be battling against, right?
Yeah.
And Christian certainly did that. It was so nice. I mean, there were so many different ways this championship could have gone as we went through the races, but it's yeah, I'm exhausted. I don't know.
Well, I'll leave you to go and enjoy your evening, Johnny. But obviously, pop the champagne, mate. Have a beer, whatever it may be.
Very, very nice whiskey. Waiting.
Oh well, there you go.
Great choice.
I'm sure. I was going to say,
choice.
Peter. I'm sure.
What tipple are you going for, Johnny? This is important stuff.
I've got a very, very rare Bruick Laddick, which only comes out at special occasions.
Very nice, very nice. From the beautiful Isle of Isla. Very nice,
yeah.
Very nice. There you go. Well, Johnny, a huge congratulations on a great drive today. Go and enjoy the dram.
Yeah, and thank you, Chaz, thank you, Peter, thank you, Hugo, for a fantastic season of broadcasting, and thank you to Stephen Kershaw, who's standing down as organizer after he certainly organised all the seasons I've been in, and they've all been fantastic. So big shout out to Stephen and all of the other organisers.
Well, thank you very much, Johnny.
Thank you for that.
Absolute pleasure, and very well done from us all here at RaceSpotTV. Go and enjoy your evening. Go and enjoy your whiskey, and well, there he goes. Bless him. I'm sure a very, very happy bunny right now, and it's just so great to see such a deserving winner as well, Peter, because we've got a great community of people here, and we go actually straight to another deserving winner. Ryan Penny jumps into the commentary box. Ryan, you are the AM champion of season 7, mate. Tell us what that means. You must be over the moon.
I was there at the first race at Lime Rock. It took 7 seasons, but finally done something. Yeah, awesome.
It didn't look easy tonight, though, because you still had the pro drivers at the sort of tail end of their pack to battle with you as well. Were you a bit nervous going up against them, or did you have it all under control?
I saw who I was around, and I knew they weren't going to try anything silly. So it was a case of just trying to pace my race. I was going into this race thinking I'll take it steady, and of course that went out of the window. So, but no, it was good. Wasn't too difficult a race.
I was going to say it's never easy around somewhere like Sebring, because I mean it's a fast car, it's a fast circuit as well. But that's what you've mentioned there about your other competitors around you. That must be such a heartwarming thing to have in a race, knowing that you guys have raced together for so long now that you can all learn to trust each other and know who you can race against. It must be great to have that at every single round.
Well, I mean, after what happened with Oliver at Mulsanne Corner at the last race, I knew he wasn't going to try anything silly. So,
well, it certainly looked like a great race, Ryan, and a fantastic season for you as well. Is there anyone that you'd like to sort of give a shout to before we let you go?
I'd like to thank you two guys. You and Hugo do the broadcasts are always brilliant when I watch them back. So
What's happened, Ryan? Can you hear me? Okay, apologies for that, everybody. It seemed like Discord just went out for a second then. Christian Saruta has jumped into the commentary box with us. Christian, commiserations first off for not taking the championship in the final round, but you threw absolutely everything at that. What was that race like from your perspective?
I'm really sorry, everybody, but it seems like we've had a major issue here with Discord. It seems like it's completely died. Although, oh, Christian, can you hear me?
I can.
There we go. I do apologise, mate. I think we've been having a few Discord issues this evening, and it's dropped away from us a couple of times. Talk us through your emotions at the moment, mate. I know it's a tough moment indeed, not having the championship victory right now, but what a fantastic run to the end that you guys had, though. It's been a great season, hasn't it?
Oh, do you know what? The only thing I'm annoyed about is I can't put double bogey on the side of my car. That's the only thing I'm annoyed about, to be honest. And Johnny and that, he must have ballerina feet or something. He must be wearing ballerina shoes, because I do not know how he went that quick and saved that much fuel. I was like at the start of the race, we were doing kind of like quali laps. And I'm like, he's going for it. He's absolutely sending it, and he's doing the opposite of what he did the last time we did the endurance race at Sebring. And I was like committing to a two-stop, and I was following for it, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to back off a bit here. I've not got enough fuel. And then end of lap 14, come round the last corner, expecting him to come into the pits, and thinking, yes, I've got him, I've done it. And he keeps going. I'm like, oh no, maybe not. So yeah, he was doing something magical to save fuel and go that fast, because I mean, he finished the race about 15 seconds ahead of me, was doing donuts for about 30 seconds, and then ran out of fuel. I crossed the line and ran out of fuel, so I don't know what he did. So it's thoroughly deserved by Mr. Cullen.
Well, it's very, very good sportsmanship stuff from you, Christian, and we expect nothing less, to be fair. It's been a great season and a great fight. I mean, Peter and I have commended it from the get-go, because, you know, it's always been a fair fight. There's been no major dramas or controversy, and as Johnny said himself, you know, it's always great for you to have somebody to battle with like that, isn't it? And it go right down to the wire. It's what everybody wants. It's why we do this.
Yeah, 100%. It'd just be nice if we get rid of the endurance races, because clearly he's got the number on me. We've bin those off next season. That'd be much better. I only know how to go flat out. That's all. I can't do this fuel saving nonsense. Just, you know, flat out or nothing at all.
Flat out and noisy exhausts.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. As you've been well informed, Peter. I'm sure Hector has well informed you as well.
I love it. Well, it's been fantastic again, Christian, to see you this season, and very well done on another great campaign. It was really, really great to watch, and we hope to see you again in the next instalment of it here on RaceSpotTV. But thank you for your time, thank you for your interviews, well done on your results, and we'll hope to see you again soon.
Thanks very much. I've not got anything better to do, so I'll definitely be back next season.
Always a good laugh, Christian. Thanks very much for your time. Well, there we go, Peter.
I think we can finish with one more, Chaz, I think, can't we?
Yes, I've just noticed who's in there. Yes, we absolutely can. We'll drag in Stephen Kershaw to the commentary box. Stephen, first off, very well done this evening. Not an easy race to run at all here at Sebring, a massive challenge. But also, congratulations on your time as an organiser of the championship. We wanted to have you in and have a quick word with you and thank you for what you've done. It must be it's quite an emotional moment, I imagine, because there's a lot of work goes into these things, isn't there, that people don't see?
Yeah, there is. There's quite a lot of admin involved, especially when we've got such good sponsors as well, that you want to do best for them, as well as everyone in the club, in the Porsche club. So yeah, but it's been a pleasure. It's been great. It's such a nice bunch of blokes to race with as well, so they don't take much organising.
Well, that's always good to have as a series organiser indeed. It can definitely get a little bit rowdy, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions sometimes, but you and the guys have run a very, very tight ship. Is there anything that you're most proud of as an organiser of this championship for the season to run?
Well, I think just giving the guys some choice in what we actually do, whether it's in the racetracks that we select or the cars. I think that's key to make sure that everyone gets a say about what they'd like to do, because it's quite an important sort of championship for the club, and And if you can get everyone happy with what they're going to be doing, I think that's the key. And I think we've done that certainly over the last couple of seasons. It's been really good. The RSR last year was just unbelievably fantastic to drive. Not so much the 992 this year, but for me anyway. But the course, the tracks this year have been really challenging and so different that that's what's made this year, I think, so good.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been a fantastic showcase for the car and a really strong calendar as well. And the fact that we were still able to get our finale we were still able to get our race at Sebring, but have it as a finale instead, I think just added to the epicness of the calendar we've had. So, from all of us here, it's been a great season from what we've had, definitely.
I just wanted to pop on to say thank you, actually, to you, Peter, Paul and Hugo for doing such a fantastic job broadcasting it. It's been brilliant, and it just adds just another dimension to the league that we absolutely love and appreciate. So thanks very much, you guys.
It's been an absolute pleasure. As always, Stephen, Peter and I have a good laugh. As you know, we love the series. We love everyone involved. And, we would happily do this until the cows come home. So thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to run it on behalf of you guys. And we hope to continue to do so. But you'll have the final word on the broadcast this evening, Stephen. Is there anyone else you'd like to just give a quick shout to before you go?
The guys that help organise it. It's not just me. There's Paul Goffin, Andy Shepherd, Matt Donington, who does the setups for us, Jules, who does all the decals layers, and Rob that does the scoring as well. I'm hoping he's busy working away at it at the moment so we can announce who won the actual championship. But those guys and the Porsche Club of Great Britain and all the sponsors, of course, they've been brilliant.
Cracking stuff. Well, it's always a pleasure, Stephen. Thank you very much for jumping in, and we'll hopefully speak to you and see you again on track very, very soon. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks, Chaz. See you soon. Bye.
Well, there we go, Peter. Lovely stuff.
Well, I think we might have set a new record for number of interviews. I think that was pretty impressive, Chaz.
Thank you.
Michael Parkinson, eat your heart out. It's that is all we have time for here on RaceSpotTV, and an end of another successful season of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. It's such a pleasure to be involved. From us all here at RaceSpotTV, for myself, Peter Mackay, Chaz Draycott, and our producer Hugo Luis, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next season.